Catherine West.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and could I say what a pleasure it is to follow my honourable friend, the member for Streatham, who has a very long track record in standing up to racism and anti-Semitism. And to also add my thanks to the member for Leeds North and North East and the member for Warrington North, who both spoke so powerfully about their own family situations. A teddy bear is the thing which John Hadju MBE brings into local London schools when he speaks as an ambassador for the Holocaust Educational Trust. He, as my constituent, will be leading us this Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Madam Deputy Speaker, as an Arsenal supporter, I will have my fingers crossed behind my back when I enter the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But I look forward to a day of contemplation with the member for Tottenham and with others, led by our mayor, the young Councillor Jogi, and also the veteran Jewish councillor Sheila Peacock, who has worked tirelessly on promoting and standing up to anti-Semitism since she was a school teacher in the 1980s. She's now reached her 90th birthday and is still leading all of us as a community in Haringey to talk about the issues raised at this time of the year, and has also commemorated a garden outside the Bruce Castle Museum, which is called the Peace Garden, which we have local rabbis come and bless and do prayers in. So it's a very moving occasion always in Haringey, which of course is the home to a community of 180 languages, and in its diversity probably represents all of the different tragic genocidal incidents that people have mentioned here today, that members have mentioned. I also wanted to put on record my heartfelt thanks to the member for Beckenham, who described his own experience when he was in the armed forces of seeing people who had been murdered in a genocide, and just to say how lucky we are across this House, Madam Deputy Speaker, when we have these sorts of debates, how serious they are, how the emotion gets to you, and what a nice antidote it is from the week that we've had where we play our roles in opposition and in government, but how important it is as a parliament that we do have these moments which actually bring us together around the things which matter. I briefly wanted also to reach out to the member for Newark to say that any support he needs as somebody who has personally experienced anti-Semitism, of course those of us on the Labour benches who are here today would want to support him in that. And also to just remember those Jewish communities still terrified as a result of the recent Beth Israel attack in Denver, and the traumatising effect that that had not just on Jewish people in the US, but across my community too. I wanted briefly to talk about the fact that that happened in a synagogue, and to link that in with what we are being encouraged to do tonight, which is to light a candle, and the candle and the light, of course, being hope. What do we do when we have these terrible situations, such as what's been described by the member for Leeds North East about his family, why he now has a small family because so many of them were killed then, and what we do when we hear about the attacks on a faith community, what we hear when we hear about the attacks, for example, overnight in Stamford, a casual attack onto the Haredi community in Stamford Hill. What we do is we try and do what the member for Bath has said, which is not to shy away from the pain, to somehow welcome the pain so it makes us remember, but also to make us then do things differently. And it reinforces our energy to take on, for example, the member for Sutton Coldfield talking about perpetrators who are still living here in the UK who haven't been brought to justice. Is there more that we could do as a result of this debate today as a parliament, not to allow that just to drop in the air, it was spoken about, but to pursue that, particularly given that we are seeing now some dangerous trends, for example, in the Bosnia-Herzegovina situation, which I know my honourable friend who's going to speak next has a long experience of living in Banja Luka and understanding the community there, and has spoken of in this House. What can we do as a result of today's debate to prevent another genocide happening, possibly in that region? And this legacy that we're talking about not just happens in this House, Madam Deputy Speaker, and in our debates and in our foreign policy, but it also happens in our communities. And I know all communities, all members here will have people who are doing similar work. But I was struck when we were talking with the member for Horncastle, who is leading the Afghanistan Welcome Programme, when the member for Leeds North East talked about going to visit refugees in his locality within weeks of their arrival here in the UK. And that practical action plays a really important role. A local rabbi, David Mason in Muswell Hill, has joined together with the Methodist Church, the Quakers and a number of other faith communities to provide a warm welcome for refugees who are housed in very low-quality accommodation in what is quite an affluent part of London. And I think it's seeing that inequality where you have people who have nothing, who very, very little, and others who have quite a lot, and seeing we walk the same streets but we have different lives. And I feel that it's just so much that's happening at local level because of the experience which survivors have put into practice. It is the women who are from the synagogue who are preparing meals once a month on a Sunday and bringing toys and games for children to play, who have helped children register at school, who have assisted refugees in their registering with a GP, getting into college, finding a job as a bicycle mechanic. All those basics which are the journey that one makes in a new community. I was very honoured to go to Auschwitz myself with a number of school children, some from Hornsey School for Girls, a number of years ago, and I got to see firsthand the dreadful situation there, which the member for Warrington North mentioned in her speech, so I won't repeat here, but the importance of seeing firsthand how bleak that place is. And at sundown, when the tour is over and you get to feel the freezing Polish weather and the grey sky, and just the way that it makes you think of the suffering, but also gives you that sense of what can we do differently, how do we light the candle, how do we give people hope. Of course.
Thank the Honourable Member for giving way, and I wanted to speak in the debate, but I was in a bill committee, which is why I've come in late. But I'm a trustee of Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, and I just wanted to mention all the work that they do in remembering the lives of all those who made the mission to Auschwitz, as she's talking about, and the work that they do to make sure that it never happens again, and to raise awareness about subsequent genocide that's happened, whether that's in Rwanda or Cambodia. And I just wanted to ask if she would join me in paying tribute to all the staff, the trustees, to Laura, Olivia and everyone at Holocaust Memorial Day Trust who do such a fantastic job.
Indeed I will, and the member for Hampstead and Kilburn has got a long record in promoting the values of Holocaust Educational Trust and the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, and has done an enormous amount to emphasise their work, not just nationally but also locally, where so many survivors made their home when they first came following the Second World War in the Hampstead area, and that strong tradition and that strong contribution which so many of them have made. And indeed it is many of our Jewish members who are active in organisations like Caris in Haringey, which provides food, clothing, education and legal advice to newly arrived communities. We have the remarkable Haringey Welcome, which promotes dignity and respect for migrants and refugees in our borough. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I know you agree with this being a day where we try and reflect on the words that we use in Parliament. And I know that some of my Jewish constituents have written to me when we've had debates about immigration in the House, and always to remember to try and have those debates in a respectful way. And also always to try to remember when we're talking about groups such as Gypsy and Traveller Community, to try and understand perspectives and not just to use language which may denigrate groups which are already experiencing a lot of discrimination.
I'm very grateful. I think what we all need to recognise is the feeling of marginalisation and exclusion that are not extinction, but they are also destroying lives. Does she agree? We need to recognise that.
Indeed, and one of the other local groups in my constituency, the Martin Gilbert Learning Centre, which brings history to life, is another way of not forgetting and another way of informing a future approach which holds the light, which holds that light that we all want to light tonight in our windows, so that we can never forget, but also that we can go forward in a positive way, trying always to prevent violence happening again, trying always to remember that lesson about how discrimination begins, which is the member for Bath made such an important point about rooting out the beginnings of discrimination and negativity and how we try and address that. So to conclude, Madam Deputy Speaker, thank you for presiding over today's excellent debate. It's been one of the best I've ever been in since 2015 when I was elected, and I look forward very much to what the Minister and our shadow spokespersons have to say, and also to lighting the candle this evening, so we may never forget.
Yeah.